The Adventures of Feluda by Satyajit Ray. The Mystery of the Walking Dead, Part 3. Topshe Babu and Lalmohan Babu were waiting for us. I felt immensely relieved to see electric lights again. "Can you imagine," said Lalmohan Babu, "even in this tiny village I found as many as 20 people who had read more than 50% of my books. Of course, many of them got them from the school library, but those who had bought a few copies had them signed by me." "Very good. I am very pleased to hear that, Lalmohan Babu." Topshe Babu turned to Feluda. "Let's go and call on Atmaram. We can see the Bat Kali temple tomorrow." "Bat Kali temple? What on earth is that?" "Yet another local attraction. There is an old and abandoned Kali temple in the bamboo grove you just came through. It's 200 years old. It must have once had a statue of Kali, but it's gone now. Dozens of bats live in it, which is why people call it the Bat Kali temple. When it was in use, it must have seen a lot of activity." "I see. By the way, does your Atmaram come from this village?" "No, but he has been living here for some time. 2 years ago his special power came to light. Besides, he knows astrology and palmistry as well. People from Calcutta often come here to consult him." "Does he charge a fee?" "Yes, he probably does, but I have never heard of him charging any of the locals. He holds seances on Mondays and Fridays. Today we'll just go and meet him." "All right, let's go." I could see that somehow Mriganka Bhattacharya had become a part of Feluda's investigation. We left the house once more. Although lights were on in every house in the vicinity, it was very dark outside, possibly because of the large number of big trees. The moon had not yet risen. Crickets and owls and jackals in the distance had started a regular concert, which made me think that in a place like this it was Shyamlal Malik's palanquin and the flickering light from his oil lamps that fitted the atmosphere far better. Lalmohan Babu whispered into my ear, declaring that he had never seen a place so full of mystery and excitement. "You know, Topesh," he said, "I had thought of Guatemala as the place of action for my next novel, but now I think I will change it to Goshaipur." "Really?" Feluda laughed, having overheard this remark. "But you haven't even seen the Thuggees news. Can you think of anything more exciting?" "What are you talking about, Felu Babu?" Feluda explained quickly. He also mentioned the anonymous note. "If Mr. Bhattacharya got Durlabh Singh's spirit to come and reveal the truth, you need not look any farther, Mr. Mitra," Topshe Babu remarked. "Shyamlal Malik's enemy must be in his house." No one said anything after this, for we had reached Mr. Bhattacharya's house. This house did not appear to have an electric connection either. Perhaps souls found it easier to re-enter the earth if they could move in the faint and hazy light of lanterns. Mriganka Bhattacharya turned out to be a man with an impressive appearance. It was impossible to guess his age. His hair had thinned but not turned grey. His features were sharp, his skin smooth except around his eyes and mouth. He was seated on a divan, facing 3 chairs and 2 benches. He clearly did not share Shyamlal Malik's aversion to furniture. A young man of about 25 was sitting on one of the benches, leafing through an astrological magazine. We learnt later that he was Mr. Bhattacharya's nephew Nityanand. He helped his uncle in hailing spirits. Topshe Babu touched Mr. Bhattacharya's feet quickly and said, "These are my friends from Calcutta. I brought them here so that they could meet the man Goshaipur is so proud of." Mr. Bhattacharya raised his eyes and looked at us. Then he glanced at the chairs. The 3 of us sat down. Topshe Babu remained standing. Mr. Bhattacharya closed his eyes, sat erect, his legs crossed in the lotus position. A few moments later, he suddenly opened his eyes and said, 16, 3, 13. Which one of you has those initials?" We stared at him, perfectly taken aback. Feluda was the first to speak after a short pause. "I do," he said. My full name is Prodosh Mitra, and you are quite right. PCM are the 16th, 3rd and 13th letters from the alphabet. I felt considerably surprised by this. Tulsi Babu had certainly not mentioned our names. How did Mr. Bhattacharya guess Feluda's initials? I saw Tulsi Babu cast an admiring glance at Mr. Bhattacharya. Then he asked, "Can you guess his profession?" By this time, another man, possibly a client, had entered the room. Feluda naturally did not want his profession disclosed before a stranger. So he said hurriedly, "Oh, there's no need to do that." Tulsi Babu realized his mistake and began to look embarrassed. "I'll bring them back on Friday," he said, changing his subject. "We came today only to meet you." Mr. Bhattacharya looked steadily at Feluda. "You simply seek the truth, don't you?" "Stop worrying, sir. Nobody will understand my meaning if I say that." We took our leave and left soon after this. "He must have a very strong sixth sense," Lalmohan Babu remarked as we began walking, "and he can speak in riddles." Remarkable! Someone was coming from the opposite direction carrying a lantern in one hand. It swung as he moved, making his shadow sweep the ground. Tulsi Babu raised the torch in his hand, shone it on the man's face and said, "Off to see Bhattacharya. You have started visiting him pretty frequently, haven't you?" The man smiled, hesitated for a second, then went on his way without saying anything. "That was Bholanath Babu," Tulsi Babu informed us, Bhattacharya's latest devotee. "I believe Bhattacharya went to his house once and spoke to a spirit. Whose I couldn't say." Tulsi Babu's cook Ganga produced an excellent meal that night, including moong dal, 3 types of vegetables and egg curry. After dinner, our host regaled us with stories of his life as a school teacher. When we said good night to him and went to bed, it was only 9:30, though it seemed like midnight. We had brought our own bedding and mosquito nets. Feluda said he'd use Odomos and not bother with a net. I had noticed that he had plunged into silence since our return from Mr. Bhattacharya's house. In the last couple of hours he had opened his mouth only to praise Ganga's cooking. What was he thinking? Lalmohan Babu lit a lantern and placed it by his bed. He needed the light, he said, to work on his speech for his reception. He didn't want to disturb us by keeping the main light on. I couldn't go to sleep without asking Feluda something that was puzzling me very much. "How did that man guess your initials, Feluda? And he knew about your profession too?" "Yes, those are questions I've been asking myself. I haven't got an answer yet, Topshe. Sometimes some people do turn out to have extraordinary powers that cannot be rationally explained."